Hello, travelers. Welcome to Reach the World. For over 20 years, Reach the World has used virtual exchange to inspire youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens. My name is Tim, and I'm so glad you're joining us for today's Meet the World event. The Meet the World program builds positive, personal connections between students in the US and global cultures, all through direct interactions with real people who are excited to share their countries and cultures with you. For a complete listing of upcoming Meet the World live stream events, you can visit athome.reachtheworld.org. Today, we're connecting with Sarah Marliane. Sarah is a Fulbright foreign language teaching assistant from Dijon, France. This year, she's teaching French at Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island. And she's joining us today to talk about unique French culinary traditions and different regional specialties. Yum. Before I turn things over to Sarah, though, I want to welcome the teachers and students who are watching today's Meet the World live stream event. Please feel free to use the YouTube chat bar to let us know you're here, where you're joining from, and of course, to share any questions you have for Sarah as we go. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the next 30 minutes, but without delay, it's time to take a journey to France. Sarah, welcome to Reach the World.
Bonjour, hi everyone. Thank you for your introduction, Tim. I hope everyone is well and safe. And let's start. So I'm sure if I ask you to think about something related to French gastronomy, you will easily think about maybe a baguette or a croissant, or maybe also recipes like beef bourguignon, things that we call bœuf bourguignon in French, or maybe also to think about an habit like enjoying drinking a coffee at the terrace of a cafe. That sounds French, right? You can also find a lot of French words in English that you do use, such as cuisine, gastronomy, a recipe, which is really close to the French word une recette, a menu, or une entrée. So you may not be aware of that, but actually you do know a lot of things about French food and French gastronomy. So let's try to understand why is French gastronomy so popular and what we do know about our region. So to understand that, we need to go back to the medieval ages, where French courts were well known for their big banquets with a lot of festivities. So basically, it was like a big party with a lot of food. And you could find this food on one big table, and everyone could come and take whatever they wanted. Everything was served all of a sudden at the same time, and you just needed to enjoy the night. So the best cooks worked for kings, and even the English monarchy was francophone during centuries, and especially with the Norman conquest in 1066, so still during the medieval ages. And even if you live abroad in an English country, but you bring everyone from your family who speak French, at some point you're going to use these French words in your daily life. And this is what they did in England. They used French words to talk about food, to talk about the army, to talk about things in the house. And they decided also to use French methods to cook. So here, for instance, you can see a medieval banquet at the French court, and you can see that these people are really enjoying. I mean, I hope you can see that for this drawing. They are enjoying and they are just eating. And yeah, so one significant event was the writing of a book called Cuisine François, which means François the chef. And he decided to write in 1651, which is after the medieval ages, a book with all the different terminologies that were used, so all the words that people used to describe the way they were cooking. So you could also find new recipes, and these recipes were really different from what they used to do during the medieval ages, because they tried to do lighter dishes with less sophisticated dish, but at the same time very easy to do, efficient, I would say. And basically, this writer put words on the art of cooking, so what we call the gastronomy. And during a banquet, you could eat different things, but I would like to talk to you now about cheese. Why cheese? Well, because you know that when you think about France, you easily think about cheese. And for instance, on this picture, you can see a group of people. One in the middle is cutting the bread, the other one are drinking. So you may think, why is she talking about cheese while they are drinking? Well, it's because at this moment, they use cheese in their soup. They put cheese in their soup. But it's something that we can still see nowadays. You can use cheese in different recipes in your soup, on a piece of bread, as you want. And I think it's that the image of how we eat cheese in France, that means that we can eat it differently, but mainly with bread. So what about bread? I mean, during medieval ages, they already had bread. But bread was not like the famous baguette that we have. It was more like a round loaf, as you can see on the right. But yeah, it was like balls, as we can see on the drawing on the left, this baker doing the bread. Yeah, really easy. But at some point, later, well, when Napoleon was our emperor, they thought that this bread was too heavy and it wasn't easy to travel. So it wasn't easy for the for the soldiers, sorry, to travel with this bread. So they thought, oh, maybe we can do something, you know, longer. That way it would be easier to put it in our bag or under our arm, like, you know, the famous cliche with this Parisian guy walking in the street with his baguette under the arm. Well, this is maybe where it comes from. Actually, we don't know because we don't have any studies about the history of bread, but this is one suggestion. So you can see that we do have national products, but at the same time, we do have some specialties according to our region. And it really depends on what we have in these regions and where they are in our country, because if you live next to the ocean, you may not eat as you will eat in the middle of the country if you are surrounded by forests, for instance. So let's start with Paris. Let's start with the capital and the region Île-de-France. So in Paris, well, you can find the biggest, I would say the more qualified chef who they come there to try to learn from the best and to discover international food as well. So there you can also have Parisian mushrooms, what we call in French, les champignons de Paris, or Parisian ham, like le jambon de Paris. And most of the time we can mix both and add that to an omelette or whatever. You can mix that also with other vegetables. And it's just really good. So you can also have Brie. So I think it's one of the most famous French cheese in the world, and most of the time you do have that in your stores. So I think you know this one. And you can have a dessert. So I want to talk to you about the Paris-Brest. What is the Paris-Brest? So in, let me check the date. In 1891, there was this bicycle race between Paris and Brest. And then people from Brest were going to Paris. And one baker decided to create a pastry to pay tribute to this race. And he called that the Paris-Brest. So it's round because it reminds us of a tire of a bike. So this is why it's round, and it's with a lot of cream, praline and almonds, and it's delicious. Yeah. So the last thing I want to tell you about Paris is the famous macaron, because when you see macaron, you're just like, wow, it's French. Well, let me tell you the truth. it's not French. It comes from Arabic countries, and during the Renaissance, Catherine de Medici wanted to eat that for her wedding. So they decided to bring that to France, to Paris. And after that, we decided just to cook macarons. But actually, they come from Arabic countries. And then let's go to the north of France. So this region called Les Hauts-de-France, so is really next to the ocean and also next to Belgium. So you can easily feel the Belgian influence on our food. And especially because they drink a lot of beers there, because they do have a lot of hop field to do the beer. So people are really friendly, they are really warm and like enjoying a good drink with their friends. So this is why they drink that. After, they can enjoy having potatoes and fries. Apparently, Belgian people do eat a lot of fries, so this is why we also eat fries there. And we can add some cheese, and the famous cheese there is le maroilles. Which is kind of weird because a lot of people put maroilles in everything that they eat. Some of them try to put maroilles in the coffee. I have never tried that, but apparently some people do that. But yeah, why not? And after that, I would like to talk to you about Le Merveilleux de chez Fred. So this pastry is not that old because the chef who created it did it in the 1980s. And actually, when you eat that, it's as if you were eating a cloud, because it's really soft, it's light, it's such a moment of pleasure. So if one day you have the opportunity to try that, you will experience what it means to eat a cloud. And one recipe that is really associated with the north of France, I would say, is moules frites, so mussel and fries. And why? Well, it's just because it's next to the sea. So you see, it can be really easy to go and fish and to have fresh mussels for lunch. Now let's go to the Grand Est, so the Great East, where this region is really next to Germany. So again, you're going to see that we have a lot of German influence in our way of cooking. So we usually eat lard, cream, red cabbage there, mushrooms, and we drink in this region wines and beers as well. But one famous recipe is la Quiche Loren. So Lorraine is the name of one county in this region, I would say. And quiche is just another term to say a pie. So it's salty. You can see that there are cream, cheese, milk, eggs, and lards in it. And it's really good. And you can see that you can eat a quiche Lorraine more or less everywhere in France, but with different varieties, I would say. But this one is the original one. And they do eat choucroute. So what is a choucroute? It's some fermented cabbage with charcuterie and also sausages and potatoes. It's really good, but it's really heavy when you eat that. But we do like eating this during winter, when you need this kind of comfort food with your friends, your family. And in France, we do like, just to take the time to eat. We say that we live to eat. It means that we just take the time to appreciate this quality time with our families around a good meal and so on. And choucroute is typically this kind of meal we like to enjoy in winter. Now let's go to Normandy, which is just next to the sea again. And Normandy is also called, this region of the carrots and of the apples, because you can find a lot of orchard there. And And since the Middle Ages, normally has been used to plant a lot of apple trees, and they saw that we could have, I mean, a lot of different apples. So they were just like, okay, let's keep going and let's plant another other apple trees. So actually, it changed the landscape, but it's a really nice landscape now. So there you can have the classic the apple tart, what we call tarte aux pommes. And also Madeleine. So la Madeleine is not from Normandy, but we associate that with Marcel Proust, who was a really famous, and he's still famous, a famous writer from the 19th century. And he, I think in English, it's translated as In Search of Lost Time, or the remembrance of things past. So the idea is just that you're going to taste one Madeleine and you're going to think about good memories of the past. So by experiencing this, by eating this Madeleine, you're going just to think about good memories. That is basically the idea. Now let's go to La Bretagne. So what you call in English Brittany. So Brittany is really famous because it's just next to the ocean. It's really green. It's famous because also apparently it rains a lot there, but they do have really good food, and especially buckwheat crepe. So I'm sure you know what is a crepe. And in Brittany, what they have most of the time is salty, savory crepes, or where they're going to put ham with an egg and some cheese on the top. But you know, they can put whatever you want inside, so it's really good. Then let's go to Pays de la Loire, where we can find our salt actually, because the quality of the water there, of the ocean, is really good. So they took the salt there, and after that they just manufacture it, and we have it everywhere in France. And we do have also this kind of cake, which is dry, made with a lot of butter. So it's perfect if you have a cup of tea, a hot chocolate, or yeah, just to enjoy for your snack. Oh, and then my favorite region, because it's where I come from, which is Burgundy, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. It's a really nice region. And there we are famous because we do eat snails. I know that it may seem weird, and a lot of people are just like, no, that sounds disgusting, but I can promise you it's really delicious. We do make a kind of sauce with garlic inside. We eat then the sauce with bread. So it's delicious. We are also famous for this, for the mustard, la moutarde, from Dijon. So let me tell you that if you have this kind of mustard at home, this mustard doesn't come from Dijon. If it's region Dijon, it's just because the recipe was created in the 14th century in Dijon, but actually it is manufactured somewhere else in the world. Then let's go to the south, the west south, where there's the city of Bordeaux, and Bordeaux is also really famous for its wine as much as Burgundy. But one thing that they do have is also oyster, what we call les huîtres. Why? Well, they are just next to the ocean as well, so it's easy to go and to fish and to bring fresh products from the ocean. So this is why they do have that. This is what is the landscape around Bordeaux, but also in Burgundy. We have a lot of vineyards, and it's really beautiful, actually. One specialties in Bordeaux is les cannelés. So it's something that you can eat at the end of your meal, and it was created in a monastery by nuns. They were trying to do some recipe with sugar, and actually they succeeded to do that, and it's really good. Let's see what do we have in Occitanie. So this region is just next to the mountains on the south, that we call Pyrénées, and it's just next to Spain, which is just there. So as well, you can feel this Spanish influence sometimes in our recipe because it can be spicy, or they use a lot of tomatoes in it. So yeah, and I would like to talk about Toulouse, because this city that we call also the Pink City is really famous for one recipe, and is le cassoulet. Why? Well, because there they have haricot beans, and it's easy to cook. You just need to add the sausage, which the sausage that we call saucisse de Toulouse, so sausage from Toulouse. And after that, you can enjoy having a cassoulet. And then to finish, I would like to talk about this last region, Provence et Côte d'Azur, where you can see this city, Nice. I'm not going to tell you one recipe about this one, but different things. So for instance, you can find a lot of vegetables there. Why? Just because it's warm during all the year, it's really hot in summer. So it's easy to plant seeds and to have fruits and vegetables to produce different products. And also they do have a lot of herbs. They do have a lot of olives trees. So they produce a lot of olive oil, as much as lavender. Yeah, indeed, we put lavender in our in our meals. So for instance, you can put lavender when you cook a meat, and that would give some flavor to it. So this example is just to show you that you can create meal, or you can put some flavor to one of your dish thanks to what you have in your region. And this is why it can influence the way you eat. So as you can see, French gastronomy is full of stories and represents a big part of our culture. And these specialties depend on our regions, the way the landscape is, the geography, the climate, the weather as well. So yeah, you can see that it has an influence. And there are so many things that I could have told you about specialties, but I decided to choose some. And I hope you enjoy this little tour of France with me. Thank you.
Wonderful, Sarah. Thank you so much. I swear I can smell that picture of lavender. I know that it's ridiculous to smell it through the computer, but I just see it and I smell that field must smell amazing.
Perfect. That was the immersive experience.
Yes. If you've ever smelled lavender, maybe you're experiencing the same thing that I am. I made a short list of things that you talked about that maybe some of our listeners could go and find in their grocery store if they wanted just to sample some of the things. Brie Cheese seems like a good place to start. Definitely has a distinct flavor. We have Dijon mustard, of course, maybe not made in France, but is a good way to sample the signature product of your hometown. I wanted to ask you though about frites, or what we know as French fries. How similar are the French fries that we eat in the United States to French fries, and are French fries really French?
Well, actually, the French fries that you have are the same that the one that we eat. I would say that's the only thing is that sometimes the form is not the same. When what we call French fries are the really long and thin fries, I think. And sometimes you have what we call potatoes, which are fries, but larger, bigger pieces of potatoes.
Okay, great. I also, you did a great job of taking us on a tour around France and talking about some of the special food products. It's kind of remarkable how there's just a little bit of influence from, especially the regions that border another country, the things that come over the border. I wonder if that is just generally the case. You know, France has many neighbors, Brussels or Belgium, Germany, Italy, Spain. Is that generally the case, that where those borders exist, there's a little bit of an influence from the culture next door?
Yeah, I think it's a thing, but especially with Germany, because this part of the region called Alsace, so the Great East, it used to be German at some point. So they still have a part of their history, which is German, but at the same time French. So this is why there is this mixture of two cultures in the food.
Okay. All right, very good. I have to ask this question because I know that our online viewers and our young students who come to this video later are going to notice and want to know. There were a lot of mentions of sweets, delicious, baked, sugary desserts. Is dessert a big part of French cuisine?
Yeah, I think so. I was talking with my friends here in the US, and I noticed that I always need and have this sweet tooth at the end of a meal. So I would say, yeah, it's something, and you won't never finish a meal without a dessert, or at least cheese.
Well, I think our audience will be very happy to hear that, and that will make them very positively inclined towards French cuisine. That every meal ends with some sort of a dessert. That sounds like a good way to go, a good custom. Fantastic. I know that you are right now in Rhode Island teaching French, and I wonder is there any particular dish or flavor or meal that you're missing from France right now?
I think I miss a lot croissant.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't eat croissant every day in France, but for instance, it's something that we're going to go to the bakery to get on Sunday morning, for instance. And I miss this kind of habit because here you can find croissant in your stores, but they are in a package, so they are not really fresh. But in France, we like to go to at the bakery to have this fresh bread, this fresh croissant or brioche, and yeah, I think I miss that.
I told you I ate before this event to avoid this very feeling, but now you're making me so hungry again. Well, I really appreciate everything that you've taught us about France and French culinary traditions and regional specialties today. I have to close by asking you, you're in the United States this year on a Fulbright grant teaching French. I wonder, just for the benefit of our audience, what are you excited to do in the United States this year? I know that your options are maybe a little limited due to the pandemic, but what are some things you're excited to do? I guess you're in New England.
Yeah. So I would love to go to New York for Christmas to discover this typical Christmas New York, the one that we can see in TV shows or on movies. I would love to do that with all the lights. But otherwise, if I can just go to different cities and talk to people, that would be so great because I think it's the best part of this kind of experience, to meet people and to talk with them. So yeah, I will try to do my best with that.
Well, that's great. I think you're going to find that just the way all the regions of France are very different, they share a common nationality, but they have their own unique regional personalities. That'll be the case across the United States too. I hope you get to see a lot of this country. Fingers crossed, exactly. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining Reach the World today. This was really fun to talk to you. I want to thank also our entire live stream audience for going on this journey with us. Reach the World will be hosting many more Meet the World live stream events over the coming months, and you're invited to virtually travel the world with us. You can visit athome.reachtheworld.org for more information. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.